at your birthday. Oh, when it's tax.
Oh, when it's tax.
Returns come in.
Returns come in.
Oh, when it's tax returns come in. Oh, we want to see those numbers. When it's tax returns come in. Who does he owe?
Who does he owe?
What does he owe?
What does he owe?
Who's got him under their control? Oh, we want to see those numbers. Find out who's under their control. Oh, when it's tax.
Oh, when it's tax.
Returns come in.
Returns come in.
Oh, when it's tax. Returns come in. Oh, we want to see those numbers. When it's tax returns come in. Mark. Those oligarchs.
Those oligarchs.
Those oligarchs.
Those oligarchs.
Oh, those Russian oligarchs. Oh, we want to see those numbers. From those Russian oligarchs. Oh, when it's tax.
Oh, when it's tax.
Returns come in.
Returns come in.
Oh, when it's tax. Returns come in. Oh, we want to see those numbers. When it's tax. Returns come in. Now, Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Oh, Mr. Trump, you're not alone. A lot of crooks, a lot of boxes. Zero and New Martha's doing
Out the pole.
returns come in.
Returns come in.
Oh, when it's tax returns come in. Oh, we want to see those numbers. When it's tax returns come in. One more time now, when it's tax.
Oh, when it's tax.
Returns come in.
Returns come in.
Oh, when it's tax returns come in. Oh, we want to see those numbers. When it's tax returns come in. Outer space. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Mark, Virginia, and the Resistance Choir of Central Texas. We need a drummer section. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, followed my footsteps through sparkling sands of her diamond desert, and all around me my voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. In the relief office, I see my people at the relief of office, I seen my people, and I stood there wondering as they stood there hungry. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Richmond forest to the Gulf water. This land was made for you and me. All right, Mark, take one. Capner. Now this is a land of a lot of culture, a lot of different languages, different origins. In fact, living in Texas is nice and wonderful because we share that culture. We share that food. We have a great time with these people. All of our people. Different ways. Esta es tu tierra. Esta es mi tierra. Desde California hasta Nueva York. Desde el bosque rojo hasta grande. Esta es part of me, part of me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the dusty water. This land was made.
What follows is special programming from WBRN Radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network. The Women's March 2.0 on the 20th of January 2018. There have been various comments about the Women's March, how it would be conducted this year as opposed to last year. Last year's was a seminal event, no doubt about it. It was immediately before the inauguration of one DJ Trump. DJ Trump had his little inaugural on Tuesday, would have been on the 20th of January 1 year ago. But the Women's March had been well prepared and had thousands of more people, hundreds of thousands than DJ Trump's affair there in Washington. DJ Trump came up with all kinds of excuses. The reports were false, etc., etc. Then he finally and his gang admitted that the hotel rooms in Washington were all booked up by the Women's March. No doubt the Women's March was a petty bourgeois affair. No one would argue with that, but our own Mika Malloy, excuse me, I get Mika's the name right, who used to be at the National Action Network, that is presided over by one Dr. Al Sharpton, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, the national leader. She was trained well, and she did a very, very good job with the other people there, Ms. Lisua, etc., of convening that march. Now, this particular march was a different kind of march in that you'll hear the march portions, edited portions, from Washington, D.C. We're indebted to KOMO TV in Seattle, Washington, to bringing these together. The Seattle March, you'll hear parts of that, not necessarily the speakers. The women were marching there to Seattle Center, downtown Seattle. There were marches all across the U.S. and even marches in such places as Beijing, Buenos Aires, Nairobi in Kenya. And some of the feeds that we're looking at here from Charleston in South Carolina. The Seattle March, the March in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the March in Roanoke, Virginia. We didn't do Roanoke, but it's here. And we put it up in Austin, Texas, how we ended up. We started out here with a community band from Austin, Texas, singing W. Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land, This Man Is My Land" from Asheville in North Carolina. Did we do them? We did North Carolina. And, of course, the Women's March in D.C. We had the sights and sounds from Medford in the state of Oregon. So we were well covered here. These marches were in cities all over the U.S., started in Seattle at Capitol Hill's Cal Anderson Park, and they did march to the Seattle Center, downtown Seattle. Hundreds of thousands of people marched on this, the first day of the government shutdown, known as the Trump shutdown. Mulvaney was on some program shooting off his mouth, saying that he could close government down. Yes, Mr. Mulvaney and the Trump-Pence gang did close government down. And Trump was saying no negotiation on immigration. I suppose he's talking about the Dreamers, until the government reopens. What DJ Trump does not comprehend. He will not decide when the government reopens. That job is left to Chuck Schumer of New York, the minority leader. Old man McConnell just has to sit there. He doesn't have the votes. He's not going to get the votes. He can forget it. Period. So the government is shut down. Millions of dollars are wasted. 800,000 or more people are made redundant, are laid off. Now, non-essential workers is what they call them. They are not working, period. Thus, there can be all kinds of machinations surrounding the shutdown, and we are looking at that, modeling the shutdown, how many days it will take before the shutdown itself severely impacts the Trump administration. Now, preliminary, looking at it with our slide rule model, that's our quick model, that we see some things changing after 2 weeks. So in other words, this Monday, next Monday, and next Monday, things start to change and get more difficult for the Trump administration because they can hide. They're trying to hide right now behind CHIPS. That's the the Children's Health Act, actually, what it is. But that will be ratified anyway. And they have to look at this realistically. The cards are in Chuck Schumer's hands, and obviously Chuck Schumer is not going to let the Trump gang fake in there with a tray of clubs, and they are holding 3 or 4 aces in their hand. They're not going to let this happen. They have a laundry list of things that must happen. CHIPS is one. The Dreamers, they're going to have to come up with some sort of Dreamer accommodation here. But this is a long-term act. This is not 1 month. This is the long-term act here on this budget. The budget has to be taken care of. And without a budget, those federal agencies will stay closed. Not only are they closed, and people's livelihoods are at stake, the workers, but also at the same time the business of the citizens of the United States is in jeopardy. There are many, many things that have to be done are not going to be done. And once these agencies shut down, it'll take another week to start them up. People don't realize that. So in other words, millions of dollars will be lost because of this. This act will affect the deficit. Now, this administration assumes that they can run willy-nilly with all of these executive orders of theirs impacting the national parks, the water, the air that the American people breathe, drink, etc. They can. But there's a limit to how far these clowns can go. in 2018 in November coming up, there will be an election, and how it will impact them will depend upon whom the American people blame for this in the long run. Now, preliminary polls are blaming DJ Trump. Now, DJ Trump's part plays in here when it could have been avoided. The Dreamers do not cost the government anything. They, in fact, provide revenue for the government because this is a business issue. Most of these young people are trained in academic and our technical and our academic careers. And many of them are already working in those careers, period. So they are productive taxpayers in the country and laborers in the country. So they are generating a revenue. This would be a loss of revenue. Not only a loss of revenue, other young people would not want to come here. And this is something Trump hasn't factored in. People from Norway have been on Twitter talking about they would not come here because they have a civilized country. They have national health insurance there. They have maternity leave. They have decent pay in Norway. Doesn't have it here. He can go around crowing all day he wants about these little paltry raises that Walmart and some of them gave to people, while at the same time closing Sam's Clubs left and right. And some of these other schemes that they've come up with, bonuses from $2,000 to $1,000, those are tax deductible. So they can give the bonuses, but is there any real hiring coming? There are in some cases, but much of this has been on tapped from the administration of Barack Obama. So in other words, it's a different situation. There was a good quarter in Q3, but now throughout Q1 of 2018, the job numbers are going to be tenuous, and we of course monitor that on numbers, man, with our seesaw model. But the whole point there is, it follows a normal pattern, particularly in Q1, the winter months, that the jobs will be up and down. But where as they say, actual comes is in Q2 and Q3, particularly with energy pricing. Where will energy be? Oil is up now. That does favor a lot of countries, including the Russian Federation, Venezuela, and people in North Dakota. But that's a small state. And this is something to look at. We were looking at the senators in states that voted for DJ Trump. North Dakota, a very small state. And then you look into Montana. Well, there are sparks of progressive action out in Montana. And you go into Claire McCaskill in Missouri. Missouri itself is a swing state. How, as they say, wide with the Trump net cast. One of the things that the Trump net is, a lot of that will depend upon the economy. And if you look at the present economy, and if you look at economy over the short-term history, we're not talking about long-term history, but short-term history, we'll go back to G.W. Bush and the end of Wild Bill Clinton. You'll have these ups and downs. You'll have bubbles. You had the so-called tech bubble, which many of the young students we deal with at university were not around for that one. But the whole problem was it went up and it burst. And on the G.W. Bush, you had a stimulus literally from 9/11. That's the World Trade Center. And then, of course, you had the real estate bubble, and it burst and caused a depression. Barack Obama came into office in a depression, and at the same time, the Republicans in Congress were being obstructive. As old man McConnell said, his job was to make sure that Barack Obama did not succeed. But Barack Obama did succeed. But you have to understand, in politics, as a speaker you'll hear from in Austin, Texas, said, these problems, systemic problems, were there before DJ Trump. They came from the Republican Party of Pat Buchanan and the Southern Strategy to use racism. And then we go on into circa 1988, Willie Horton, That was when the first President Bush was running for president against our own, the professor there, Dukakis. And William Horton of Boston became the symbol. And they changed his name to Willie. But these kinds of things have been going on. He just did not start with the racist campaign in 2008 that Hillary the Monster Clinton ran. And then Sarah Palin came in with the old man McCain of Arizona. But Barack Obama survived and went on into the White House. And then the GOP closed the government down to prevent the people from having decent health care. They failed in 2013. Barack Obama was reelected. Period. And this is something the DJ Trump gang does not understand. This is a presidency that suffered historically from very low numbers, and not only that, much of the news generated by the Trump-Pence gang is in itself negative. Yes, there's some facts that are distorted, but this is by the monopoly media themselves, so they can run around arguing about fake news mirrors and what have you. But the monopoly media, because of the ad buy and the publicity that this reality star named DJ Trump generated, was very friendly to DJ Trump. The Fox people played him up, but so did CNN, MSNBC, etc. They had these Trump events on loop-a-loop. In other words, they'd have the shows on, and they'd replay the same old tired shows about DJ Trump. Now we're on, the Daniels, Stormy Daniels soap opera with DJ Trump. All these things going. Old DJ was going to his resort down in Florida to celebrate his first year. There was no celebration. Chuck Schumer put his big number 14 on that, and DJ didn't move. DJ was stuck in the White House in the cheap seats. Now will they go to the Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum? That's also on hold, because they'll be the laughing stock. He was taking old Freedom Caucus, what's his name there, with him, and one of his lackeys, his right-wing lackeys. But the problem is that stuff plays with the lobby hobby, or who the hell they are, the Green family of Oklahoma City. It plays in some circuits. But at the same time, that circle, is getting smaller and smaller. I can recall covering the campaign, Judge Roy Moore against Wimpy Jones, as the judge called him. Well, Wimpy's in the Congress now, or in the Senate, and Roy Moore's out there with the horse. And that is the difference. But a lot of people in Alabama that went with Roy Moore, or went with Big Luffy Strangelove, or had went with the Republicans or voted for DJ Trump, voted for Doug Jones, because he was a good and decent man. And what happened in Virginia? They turned Virginia upside down. And by a flip of a coin, not by the flip of the coin, they'd had 15 seats. Most people thought they'd have, at best, 4 seats in Virginia. So things are changing. This is rural Virginia now. This is not up around Washington, D.C., in the Shenandoah Valley, where Mr. Dees was from. Dees ran for governor there. So things have all changed in Virginia. That is where in Richmond, Mr. Lee himself set up his fascist confederacy. And we had the alt-right operators run through Charlottesville, Virginia, with their lights saying we will not be replaced. And their titular leader at the Burt Bar, Bannon, has now been replaced. Not only replaced, but disgraced. DJ Trump ran him off. Even Burt Bar, the right-wing operation, alt-right, ran him off also. So we don't know where he is. He's not there. He's gone. But this whole thing, this whole gang, the Trump-Pence gang, is very tenuous. Trump is there. But Pence, the doctrinaire right-winger, is a threat to the American people, no doubt about it. But the administration now and the Republican Party itself is deteriorating with all of these retirements, etc. Even rumored little Tommy Ryan himself will either disappear or be out of the speaker's seat or be put out of the speaker's seat soon. If it doesn't happen in 2018, it'll happen in 2020. And he knows it. So the end of this gang, they'd better have the fun while they can, as Mulvaney said, but they are not riding on the up note. If DJ Trump were at, say, 50 to 55%, he could say, well, if I lose 2 or 3% on it, I lose 2 or 3%. But him hovering between, at the most, 37, 39, sometimes 40%, cannot afford to lose 3 or 4 percentage points over this shutdown, because his average, at least with Gallup, is about 36%, 35%. He'll be going lower and lower he goes. And the lower his national average goes, and if anything happens to the economy, he's in deep, you know what. Nonetheless, it sums up the Women's March 2.0 on the 20th of January, after Dr. King's birthday, which DJ Trump will understand, but Dr. King is looking down on him with a vengeful eye. And he's just looking someplace. Who knows where he's looking? Maybe he's looking for Stormy Daniels. But the Stormy Daniels, just the tip of the iceberg. Mr. Mueller there, he's got his grand jury cooking, as one would say. And this whole thing, in other words, the Trump administration is on the legal attack. Many of the Trump people, little Junior Trump, could be, as they say, going to the big house. So there's a situation there. Bannon is trying not to go to the big house. And these characters are going to start flipping right and start flipping left. And my advice to DJ Trump, don't depend too much on executive privilege. That can be in itself very, very tenuous. It doesn't stop the grand jury from indicting people. And once people are indicted, depending on whom the judge is, they can be held in contempt of court and thrown into jail. Executive privilege or no executive privilege, they will be in jail. And remember what Judge Sirica did. Maximum John, more or less Maximum John pressed this on poor people, predominantly African Americans. But he extended the courtesy to Tricky Dick's henchmen. And they were, in fact, henchmen. I don't think he had any henchwomen there. But this whole thing, this whole nightmarish woman was telling me that we would be very, very unhappy if DJ Trump was elected. Well, no, we weren't. We supported Jill Stein. And we understood that the DJ Trump administration would itself be a setback for the progressive movement. You never know how much of a setback. But because of the resistance that's come up, and the fake people like Dan Rabb of New York, in Washington, Texas, Professor Robert Reich out in Berkeley on the fight back, and our own Senator Sanders of Vermont for leading the historic campaign and continuing to lead our revolution. And it's one of the things to understand, as one of the speakers said in Washington, Texas, this is not about DJ Trump. It's about the American democracy, however symbolic and however tenuous it is. It's about the American people. It's about electing people, but we have to go beyond the people we elect. Electoral politics in America is very limited. And in what they now call the neoliberal, I don't even like the word neoliberal, phase of it there, basically what that translates into, falling back on Hobbes and a bunch of other primitive thinkers, is a partnership between the American people and quote-unquote big business. they're diametrically opposed. With these so-called public-private schemes put forward by many, DJ Trump wants to run an infrastructure program and some of his cronies on it. The same thing that many mayors wanted to do and are trying to do. All of the cities out there grappling for the Amazon franchise. Amazon is a behemoth. They own the Washington Post. They pretty much own cloud computing, or much of it. And not only that, they're asking for all kinds of sacrifices. Newark, New Jersey alone, 7 point whatever billion dollars from the city of Newark and the state of New Jersey, and various other cities are out there grappling there. But Amazon comes to town, and this will be their headquarters, or what they call their second campus. They will create jobs, no doubt about that, and many of them good jobs. But in their distribution centers and those kinds of things, remember, those centers are non-union. Whereas their compensation is above Bob's grocer, but at the same time, they work the people there like slaves. The working conditions are not great at Amazon. It's one of the things to remember there. So when you look at the whole spread, where would be a mayor like the right winger in Chicago, Emanuel, part of the Wild Bill Clinton gang was left over, and these people will be at the World Economic Forum. But their day, the sun is setting on them because, first of all, the condition of global capitalism in itself is changing, and it forces them to change. And this clown act that's in D.C. now, talking about America great again. They had a fellow in Austin, Texas, ran through there ranting and raving with a Trump cap or whatever he had on. Somebody took it off, and he was literally ran off the the screen. They have with people chasing him, or no, actually he was chasing the guy that took his hat, I guess. But anyway, it's this gang is scared, and the reason they're scared is because of these Meadows. That's what the guy we were thinking of there had wanted to go to the World Economic Forum. He's not even worthy to be out there cleaning up the place, and that's if they had horses in a parade. But these are the kinds of characters that came out of these dark recesses, trailer parks, what have you, that are out there now. And if you start to run that kind of economy, and this is what's happening, you're creating a lot of these jobs, but most of the jobs are very cheap jobs. But what that does is a lot of the local actors cannot find workers. The participation rate, and DJ Trump criticized it, is about 62-63%. But that is about to stretch because of the baby boomers are retiring. And after this government shutdown operation is going, many of the older people there, before they change the laws, will retire if they're eligible and past 55, 60, whatever. And as you lose those kinds of people, the problem is, this is from the NSA on down, replacing people with experience is very, very difficult to do. And nowadays, the NSA and these operations all have competitors, and they pay much more than NSA, so they can't find people. Sure, there's a few fools that'll sign up on a patriotic thing, but very, very few. Some of those go to the military. That's a low-budget operation, primarily. So this slap in the face for the federal workers does not help that situation. But remember, the Republican Party under the Libertarian Ayn Rand boy Ryan believes in virtually no government. Well, they'll have no government. But the problem is, in 2018, the conditions of capitalism is such that you need more government. And this is the paradox of the whole argument. You're not running a 1950s program. You can try. But as troubles is on the horizon. Nonetheless, we'll talk to you on Numbers Man, our financial program, the open source report, our technical program, and we're on Monday, the Monday morning quarterback. This will incidentally appear on a Sunday on some other networks. It will appear today on most of our networks. Good day, and have a good weekend.
This beautiful lady is your next speaker, Iskra Perez Salcido. And I asked her today, can we just be Jane Smith? She said no. She's the founder of the Hispanic Women Entrepreneurs of South Carolina. Give her a big welcome, please.
Basically taking this initiative to have so many of us come together. One of my favorite quotes from Helen Keller states, "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much." That's right. And that's why we need to come together, regardless of our backgrounds. According to the Institute of Women's Policy Research, if the current trends continue, Hispanic women will have to wait 232 years for equal pay, and black women will have to wait 108 years. I don't know about you ladies, but I'm not willing to wait that long. So I say these numbers need to change now. I say the time is up. This is our time. The U.S. ranks amongst the countries with the highest percentage of women in the least amount of women in government. Countries that have higher percentage of women include countries such as Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Uganda. Yes, you heard correctly. Afghanistan has a higher percentage of women in government than the U.S. does. Women make up 51% of the population in this country, but yet we only make up 19% of Congress. In 2007, we only held 104 seats out of the 535. And out of which only 18 were African American women and 9 were Hispanics. So it's time these numbers turn around. It's time we get out there, and it's time we stop waiting for someone else to do things for us, ladies. We need to wake up. I mean, this has happened while we were asleep, okay? This is on us. We were sleeping, we were taking care of everybody else, and you know what? We need to wake up. Let's get out there and let's get this going. I recently ran into a gentleman that said, if there's anyone that can get this done, it's a woman. He said, I haven't met the first woman that's determined that, hasn't really set out to do what she says she's going to do and not done it. And I said, you're absolutely right. He said, when God needed a pusher, guess who he made? That's right. He made us. If God knew that we had the ability to push life into this world, ladies, that's right, then we can do anything. There is nothing we can't do. So, I will say I'm not happy with this administration, of course, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to represent one of the largest growing minority groups, not only in our state, but in the U.S. Hispanics, the Hispanic women will increase by from 16% today to 25.7% in 2015. We are your teachers, your nurses, your caregivers, and your entrepreneurs. Therefore, we also need representations. So for those Hispanics out there, I don't know where you're at because I put a lot of posts on my Facebook. You also need to get up and get things going. We need to be represented. And I'll tell you what, I do have a message for the White House. We ain't going nowhere. The only way I'm going is straight to Washington. There's no way 11 million of us are going to head out the door. So I will say my heart is heartbroken today because of DACA. This policy has been on the fence for the last 4 years, and we've got a shutdown. Ain't that funny? I don't know about you, but I don't get paid when I shut down. So, just like these kids, I was brought here as a young child by my parents. I was 9 years old when I was brought here from Cuba. And my parents brought me, thankfully, because they wanted freedom for me. They wanted me to have the things I didn't have in my country. They wanted me to have freedom to speak, freedom to vote, freedom to have the same opportunities as everyone else. So ladies, are you ready to have the same opportunities as everyone else? So we need to get ourselves up and get out there and vote. That's right. I'm here and I'm asking you, let's fight this battle together. I've been fighting, and I know we've all been fighting it alone, individually. As a minority woman, I have to fight even harder than most people. And I've been fighting most of my life. And it's hard. And sometimes I want to give up. So, I'm tired. And I know some of you are tired too. So let's fight together. Let's embrace this together. We need to come together. We can do this, ladies. We can do this. Together, we can definitely get this going. The fight is not over, and it will not be over until we get there. Well, we have Representative David Mack in the House. We have Senator Marlon Kempson in the House. And I hope I don't leave anyone out.
Treasure yourself. Thank you. Look, even dogs are here. Good afternoon, everybody. Pet this dog.
Hi there, absolutely.
Oh my goodness, look at these babies. Hi.
This is Lady Bird and this is Eleanor.
Hi. Are you supporting the Women's March?
We are. We are.
Oh my goodness.
We sure are.
You can bring your dog. It's a beautiful day.
Yes.
those who have brought t-shirts, we have t-shirts over here to my right.
Like 4 months.
And also
Yeah.
for you to walk around a little bit
Like
later
80 to
on,
90
also
pounds.
about
Yeah, they'll be big
there.
overalls.
We want to thank our interpreters and your
Little right now. Just little.
Virginia showed everyone that the resistance can, in fact, vote them out of office. We turned our cars into campaign offices so we could canvass for multiple candidates at the same time. We canvassed in red districts. Did it work? Damn sure it did. We elected 8 candidates in Prince William County. We helped Danica defeat Voldemort. We elected 2 Latina candidates in Corey Stewart's backyard. Elizabeth Guzman and Hala Ayala. We showed the campaigns there's so much more beside canvassing and phone calls. We didn't let the campaigns push us around. We made ourselves more efficient. We gave the voters much more information than the campaigns. We campaigned for everyone at the same time, not just the top of the ticket. We made this up as we went. We did what made sense to us. We got the commuters to vote absentee. At the end, the campaign started to call and ask us about going to commuter lots and bus lots. We led the way, but 2018 is much bigger. We have to get more people out to vote. We have to register more people. We have to canvass in the red precincts. It works. We helped double the number of people who voted in one red precinct. Common sense that it says that it's silly to go to the same house 5 times. You should ask them to send you into a red district to canvass. The votes you find in a red district won't turn it blue, but every vote counts, and we know only too well what that means. We can't allow any of the elections to be close. When they are, their cheating works. So be smart, use common sense, push the campaigns. You live in these neighborhoods. The young organizers don't, and some of them have little experience. Guide them, help them do the right thing. Don't just accept what they say. But perhaps the most important thing is that reasons we need to stand up for the women who want to claim their voice at the ballot box. We need to stand up for women who want to fight sexual harassment on the street or in their homes. And the third reason that I stand here today is because we need to stop sexual violence in the workplace. We need to stop all forms of sexual harassment, all forms of abuse, and all forms of the use of power to make women do what they don't want to do. I stand here for all the women we work with, from the garment factories in Los Angeles to the garment factories in Bangladesh to the fields of tobacco-growing women in Malawi, in North Carolina, around the world. There are women who are working, who are toiling, who do not have a voice, do not have the ability to stand up, organize, and defend their rights at work. This resistance, if we want equality, it's got to trickle all the way down to every worker and every woman. Thank you, and keep up the fight.
Bring you greetings from the great state of Connecticut. And I am so proud to be a United States Senator from Connecticut here today on this beautiful day with, again, I was here last year, some of the best fighters and activists and advocates in the whole country. You're here today to send a message. This is what democracy looks like. This is what citizen activism looks like and engagement. And we are going into this next election to turn around an administration that has nothing but contempt for women's rights and workers' rights and equal rights for all Americans. We're going to put a stop to it. Now, we know that it's more than going to a march, important as it is. It's about engagement at every level, the grassroots level. It's about voter registration. And women are marching and showing us the way, forging new paths. They are not only marching, they are running. They're running for office. And we need more of them. We need more of them in the United States Senate and in every state capital across the country. Thank you for being the conscience of America. You know, for many, many years, I was in law enforcement. I was the federal prosecutor, and then I was the Attorney General of our state in Connecticut. And I know how important, how fundamental the rule of law is in this country. You are here upholding basic rights. We need to keep fighting. We need to keep working. We need to keep marching so that we can uphold what makes America truly great. Our rights, our liberties, our freedom, we will never give up. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for showing us what democracy looks like. I look forward to marching and running and fighting with you. Thank you so much. God bless our great country. Thank you.
Clue. I am a union woman, just as strong as I can be. I do not like the bosses, and the bosses don't like me. Which side are you on? Never mind, that's a rhetorical question. I know which side you're on. You're on the side of equal means equal. You're on the side of don't boo, vote. You're on the side of the dreamers. You are the resistors that say, hashtag me too, hashtag time's up. And inspired by the immigrant women janitors who marched and shouted, ya basta, enough is enough. And we're changing it to hashtag enough, period. Snap. Sisters not afraid of power. We're going to stop sexual harassment and sexual assault in our workplace, in our schools, on our college campuses, in our homes, and in our unions. In 1974, 1,200 women met in Chicago to envision and demand equal opportunity for women in unions and to organize the unorganized. I stand on the shoulders of Olga Madar, of Joyce Miller, of Gloria Johnson, of Reverend Addie Wyatt, and all the founding mothers of CLUE who taught me that a woman's place is in her union. Let me add to that. A woman's place is in the House of Representatives. A woman's place is in the Senate. A woman's place is in the White House, and we are coming for it. Are you with me? And those who think that the time of unions is over, let me ask you this. What is the first line of the U.S. Constitution? We the people, in order to form a more perfect what? A more perfect what? Union. They didn't say organization. They didn't say club. They said union. And look at this union of people here today. Yes. Tell me what democracy looks like. I'm going to close with the words of Sojourner Truth. Yes, who in 1851 addressed the Women's Rights Convention in Akron, Ohio. And she said, if the first woman that God made was able to turn this here world upside down all by herself, then these women here today with our brothers will be able to turn it right side up again, and nowadays asking. So, we shall march, we shall sing, we shall resist, and we shall overcome, because I know that deep in my heart, I do believe, all together, we shall overcome someday. Power to the women, power to the people.
A year ago tomorrow, the energy and power unleashed on that day, and I was proud to stand with you then, has not abated. It's only grown. And that's what gives me hope. I hope it gives you hope. Donald Trump and his ilk don't own this country. We're all Americans, and we're going to be heard in November. So keep up the faith. Keep up the energy. And if you got a little time today, come by one of our offices and get one of these green cards and show yourself in the House gallery. My Republican friends would love to see you. God bless you.
The illegal deadline that Congress inserted into the preamble of the Equal Rights Amendment. But the bad news is that the 14 remaining unratified states are holding the ERA up in committee. They're not allowing hearings or a vote. They have been doing this for decades now. This is a few powerful men who chair important committees in their House of Delegates, in their state senates, and they are holding complete sway over basic human rights that affect more than half the population, that affect 161 million Americans. That is not right. We cannot accept this, and we cannot tolerate it anymore. For us not to focus with complete intensity on the ratification of the original ERA in the last two states is to waste our time and to possibly lose the one opportunity we have to push this over the finish line. This is an urgent call to action. Take out your phones right now and join equalmeansequal.org so we can mobilize equality warriors across the country in the unratified states. Call Speaker of the House Kirkland Cox and Delegate Mark Cole in the Virginia House of Delegates. Call them now. The fate of the ERA lies in their hands. They are the ones who won't pull it out of committee. Call them, write to them, call your local paper and tell them about them. And let them know that as Virginians, you want the ERA voted on immediately. We cannot allow a few prejudiced individuals to continue to obstruct justice, fair pay, and equal rights for women any longer. The legislative session in Virginia only lasts for 60 days. We only have 55 left. We have to act now. If we want to see ERA happen this year, we cannot afford to wait a single day longer. I am not joking. Take out your phone. Join equalmeansequal.org and let us keep you in the loop. There are strong ground games in Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Illinois, Florida, and of course, Virginia.
Doug Jones is now Senator Doug Jones. And before that, Wakenya was in Virginia
organizing up and down Virginia, from Hampton Roads to Northern Virginia, helping people up and down the ticket send a message to America that when we organize, when we field great candidates, and when we lead with our values, we win, folks. That's what we did. So thank you, Kenya, for your work. I must tell you, it's a beautiful sight to look out here today. And I'll tell you one more thing. If the Congress, if the White House, if the governorships across America, if the legislatures across America had more women like I see here today, we'd be a much better America. There's no doubt about it. I asked President Trump and Sean Spicer to come over and count the crowd, but they didn't want to come. But no matter what they said, this is what an actual crowd looks like. We're all here for the same reason. We understand that our democracy is at risk. We understand that a year ago, Donald Trump and Mike Pence were sworn in and immediately began turning the clock back on women's rights, workers' rights, LGBT rights, immigrant rights, and our fundamental values of inclusion, opportunity, and tolerance that have always made America great. They nominated a Supreme Court justice who has repeatedly sided against women in reproductive health cases, against workers in employment cases. They emboldened Republican governors in Kentucky and Texas who are hell-bent on closing abortion clinics and taking away a woman's constitutional right to make her own health decisions. They halted President Obama's equal pay rule. They halted an effort that we led at the Labor Department to make sure that companies that engaged in sexual harassment were held accountable. And they have tried again and again to repeal the Affordable Care Act. You know what, my friends? This doesn't simply affect women, it affects all of us. When a woman has to choose between her family and her job, that hurts all of us. When a single mom has to choose between paying for child care and paying for rent, that hurts all of us. When a woman's career suffers because she's forced out of the workforce because of sexual harassment, that hurts all of us. And that, my friends, women, everyone, that is why we must all fight to fix it. And I'm here to say thank you to the women across America who have led America back to its greatness. You responded by organizing. You responded by putting your name on the ballot. And as you know, more women are running for office than ever before. In the great Commonwealth of Virginia, the pundits said we couldn't win more than 4 or 5 seats in the State House of Delegates. Well, we won 15 seats in the Virginia House of Delegates. 15, and but for a coin flip, we would have won a 16th. And those 15 former House of Delegates members in Virginia are all men, replaced by 11 women, 11 strong women, including the first 2 Latinas in Virginia history, the first Asian American in Virginia's history, the first openly transgender woman in Virginia's history. They are our present, they are our future, and Virginia is not the only place where it's happened. And here's why it's happened. Because you've marched, you've spoken up to protect health care, including the right of women to make their own choices about their bodies and their health. You're fighting for dreamers, and will continue to fight for dreamers every day. You're standing up against policies that make the rich richer while making the rest of us pay. And you are leading a powerful revolution with Me Too and the Time's Up movement. And I'm here to say, time's up for Republicans. You know what, folks? Make no mistake about it. Women will be the reason this administration ends on January 19th, 2020. You know, the founding fathers get a lot of credit, but it's the marching mothers and daughters that continue to make this country great. Thank you for doing that. I am so proud to be here with my daughter Amalia. You know what? It is absolutely time to end the practice of giving our sisters and my daughter and my other daughter less options than their dreams demand. We must fight for their futures. We will continue to fight for their futures. And you know what, folks? I want you to keep one number in mind as we move forward. 290. There are 290 till the November election in 2018. And that means there are 290 days until the Democrats take over the House of Representatives and the Democrats take over the Senate and the Democrats win governor's races across this country and the Democrats win state legislative races across this country. 290 days, my friends. But you know what? The arc of the moral universe is indeed long, and it does bend toward justice, but it never, ever, ever bends on its own. We must bend it together, and we must bend it together by understanding that we are living in unprecedented times. What is going on as we speak right now is quite literally unprecedented in our nation's history. Never has one party controlled the White House, the United States Senate, and the United States House of Representatives.
TV5 still working over downtown LA, 1,500.
Sure that every zip code counts, making sure that every child is gifted and talented and is able to realize those gifts and talents. And how do we take back America? We do it the same way we have always done it. We organize and we vote and we lead with our values. So my friends, I say to you this: if you believe that people who work a full-time job can live a stress-free life and should live a stress-free life, you should organize and vote for Democrats. If you believe that anyone who works a full-time job should not have to live in poverty, you should organize and mobilize and vote with Democrats. If you believe that a woman's right to choose is a fundamental right that we should never interfere with, and it is part of women's economic empowerment, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that health care is a right for all and not a privilege for a few, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that the right to vote is our most sacred vote and that voter suppression is wrong, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that our dreamers are every bit as American as my American-born daughter, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats.
111 women running in Democratic primaries for the House of Representatives. Yeah. And 47 Democratic women are running for the Senate. Yeah, and at least 79 women are exploring runs for governor, potentially doubling a record for female candidates since 1994. Yeah, and we're going to get them elected. Now's PAC is interviewing candidates and making endorsements. We're seeing now chapters being infused with new energy, new members, and with new chapters being formed. Women recognized now are our advocates, their allies, and their partners in advancing the feminist majority. The special election in Alabama showed us that Trump and his allies can be defeated anywhere. Yeah, when women get out the vote. Look around you today. Look at this crowd. Feel the energy that's gathering here to make history in November. Do you remember that right-wing Republican Congressman Dave Bratt saying, "The women are in my grill no matter where I go"? Yeah, damn right. And we're at it again today. If we don't stand up for our rights, Trump and his right-wing allies will take them away from us. Yesterday, I joined allies at the U.S. Supreme Court to demonstrate in support of abortion rights. Yeah, there were a lot of us there. Pence says he looks forward to the end of Roe versus Wade, having it consigned to the ash heap of history. Yeah. So, what are we going to do? We're going to elect a U.S. Senate that will never again vote to confirm an anti-divorce radical to the Supreme Court. Yeah, we're going to vote for Jackie Rosen. We're going to work for her. We're going to make phone calls. We're going to write her checks. We're going to go there and we're going to knock on doors for her. And we're going to vote for Christian Cinema from Arizona. We're going to flip the Senate. We must work for those running for the House. We need to elect a House of Representatives that won't pass a 20-week ban on abortion or a Heartbeat Protection Act or any other unconstitutional measures Republicans use to deprive women of their rightful health care. 1 year ago, a woman in Hawaii went online to start what became the largest single political demonstration in Washington since the Vietnam War. Yeah, the Women's March changed that narrative during Trump's first week in office, and he's never gotten over that. Today, we're sending Trump another message. Look out your window. See us, hear us, feel our power. You can't stop us with your tweets. You can't stop us with your bullying, and you can't stop us with your hate speech. We're marching to the polls in November, and Trump, we're voting against you and yours. Women have the right to be finally free of you. March on!
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and being there for the women of America and of the world. I'm honored to be here with my colleagues from the House of Representatives, whom you will shortly meet. But first, I have a few words to say to you. You know, when I was Speaker and as leader, people say to me, if you ruled the world, what one thing would you do? And that one thing I would do is educate women and girls. And I thank you, Emily and other organizers of the march and everyone who turned out, for educating women and girls to know their power. Last year you came here in bigger numbers than those who came to see the new President of the United States, in much bigger numbers. And at that time, the women marched. They marched. And now they have run for office. And some of them have already won for office. Nothing is more wholesome to a government, to a country, to a society than the increased participation of women in the leadership and in the rank and file. We need women's participation. So it's absolutely essential. And you taught women to know their power in so many respects. By showing up, you transformed the world. Transformed the world. By showing up not only on the day of the march last year, but in airports and at town hall meetings and at congressional offices and on the mall of the Capitol to speak your conscience, to speak your truth, And your truth is never more important than now. We thought it was more important last year. Little did we know. The truth that immigrants are the wholesome invigoration of America and the dreamers make us dream again. That women in politics make the wholesome difference. And the more we have, the better off our country will be. And that's the truth. And I'll tell you one other truth. We just came from the Capitol, where our Republican colleagues have shut down government. And you know what's sad about it? They're hiding behind children. They're pretending they care about children's health, the CHIP program, when they have overwhelmingly voted against it in the past. They say they love the dreamers, but they really don't want to help them now. There is some bipartisan support, but you must help bring out the truth in those so they have the courage. This budget fight is not just about the dreamers. It's about our investments in the future. It's about fairness in our economy. It's about ensuring that everyone enjoys the prosperity of America. And it's about honoring our values of LGBT rights in our country, about values of protecting God's creation, this beautiful planet, clean air, clean water. It's about reforming our criminal justice system so that it is more fair. It's about protecting a woman's right to choose. It's about fair immigration policy. And it's about gun safety in our country. For economic justice. Last week we observed Martin Luther King Day. He talked about economic justice. He said he didn't think there should be a God-intended society when some people would enjoy inordinate wealth while others participate in abject poverty. That is part of the fight that we have, and the truth is that our budget recommendations address just that. So while we have this president celebrating his one-year anniversary, let's give him an F for his performance.
F-.
He said a good shutdown is good for the country. Not so. And one more thing. His OMB director said on TV last night, I just learned that I'm the one person who could shut down government. Mulvaney said that. And he said, I think that's cool. Well, we don't think it's cool, and we're going to make it too hot for them to handle. And the way we're going to do it is with the truth. With the truth. So rather than going into all the agonies of the Republicans, let's just say this. We don't agonize, we organize. Yeah. And leading the way to do that are our House Democrats, of whom I'm so proud. Their unity and the unity of the Senate Democrats under the leadership of Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin just showed the world we're here for our values. And so I'm just going to, with your permission, pass the mic so our members can just say hi, their name and where they're from. Chair of our caucus.
Joe Crowley, blessings from New York. I wish I was there, but I'm glad I'm here.
That was too much.
Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, the great state of Ohio.
Lois Franco, the sunshine state of Florida.
Adriano Espaillat, de Nueva York.
Susan Davis, San Diego, California.
Julia Bromley, Ventura County, California.
Norma Torres, great state of California.
Brenda Lawrence from Detroit, Michigan, enough is enough.
Alma Adams, the great state of North Carolina.
Robin Kelly, the city of Chicago. Who rocks the world? Girls.
Congresswoman Terry Sewell from Alabama.
Sheila Jackson Lee, Houston, Texas. Wish I was.
Don't you love the beautiful diversity of the House Democrats? Over 50% women, minorities, and LGBT community members.
Barbara Lee, 13th Congressional District of California, Oakland and Berkeley, where we resist and stay woke.
Suzanne Bonamici from the great state of Oregon.
Frank Pallone, New Jersey.
Sandy Levin from Michigan. We won't let it happen again, right?
Don Norcross, New Jersey. Mom, you're always with me.
Jamie Raskin, the Free State of Maryland.
Judy Chu, Los Angeles County, California.
Rick Nolan, the North Star State of Minnesota.
From all different walks of life here to march for women's rights. And we also know that there is a women's march going on in Grants Pass and in Klamath Falls. So thousands of people marching. There's LA, there's New York, tons of people marching across the country. So if you look behind me, I'm going to let you see just the sheer number of people who are here today, all marching for their rights. With your connection, Genevieve Grippo, News 10.
What are the streets again?
Okay, the streets again that they're going to be marching down are East Main, Riverside Drive, 6th Street, and Bartlett. 4th Street will remain open, and they do have a couple of different people directing traffic, letting you know where you can. Hi, ladies. Why are you out here today? Hi. Why are you marching today?
Oh, because we're angry and we're fed up and we just want to make a statement.
And what kind of change would you like to see?
I would like to see more women elected into all government roles, whether they be Republican or Democrat.
Okay. And did you come out for the march last year as well?
Yep, we sure did.
Yeah. And how would you compare this year to last year?
We're still about the same. We're doing pretty well. We're still trying to figure out how big it is, but we're definitely happy.
All right. And what's kind of the feeling in the crowd? What's kind of the response that people are giving?
Their supporters want to cling to the past. They can have it, but the future is ours. And that is what we must remember. And the future, to me, is no more place relevant than Texas, because we got 9 percentage points to flipping this state. And when we change Texas, we're going to change the whole damn country. And we must remember that they fear us more than we fear them, because we have the power to not just change Texas, but to change the whole country. And when we do, we're going to pass laws not just for immigrants or the undocumented. We're going to pass laws for women, for workers, for students, for the LGBT. So they should be afraid, because that's what we're coming for. So I want to ask you if we can continue to count on you, as we've counted on you over the last year for however many years, months, or days this administration has left. So can we count on you to march with us? Can we count on you to mobilize when communities come under attack? Can we count on you to have the hard conversations with your neighbors, friends, and family to understand the consequences of this election? And for those of you that can vote, can we count on you to show up at the polls and make our voices?
Next up is Chaz Moore. He is the founder and co-director of the Austin Justice Coalition. He's got a lot to say to us. Come on up, Chaz.
was not expecting this. But I will say this. You might not like what I have to say, but my job in this world, in this lifetime, is to tell you the truth. So I'm not here to talk about Trump as much as I'm here to talk about us. I think we have to realize the fact Trump is in office because a lot of us got lazy. Trump is in office because a lot of us got comfortable. Trump is in office because a lot of us stopped caring under the Obama administration. Trump is in office because we didn't go to the polls, because we didn't talk to our neighbors, because we didn't talk to our friends about our responsibilities as a democratic country in voting rights and voting responsibilities.
These people support Antifa violence. They attacked us on December 9th. They attacked us. They support Antifa violence.
Hey, officers. All right, that also leads to my point. Like, we get distracted by foolishness, and we don't keep our eyes on the prize. So I promise you I'm going to get to the impeach Trump part, but before I get to that part, I want us to all realize that all these people here, all these like-minded people, and I'm pretty sure we don't agree on everything, but we agree on the simple fact that our country, our city, and our state can be a lot better. Hold on, don't clap yet. But that means that we have to proactively, almost daily, almost by the second, do our job of working for that better tomorrow, for that better day, for that better Austin, for that better Texas. We can't wait till November and elect anybody. It's going to take you in your neighborhoods, in your schools, in your neighborhood association. It's going to take every day for you to get involved to make sure you're building a better tomorrow. We can't ever really put the power and put that responsibility in the hands of anybody sitting in office. Right? Like, even here at City Hall, you know, we have some amazing leaders all the way from Mayor Adler to Allison Alter to Greg Kassar. But we can't always put all the responsibility on them. It's going to take us, the people, the voters, to do their job for them sometimes. So I got a couple more things that I'm out of here because I'm not the big round-rousing, speech person. That's not my job. I'm going to tell you what I don't like about Trump. Trump is he is the America we were 50, 60, 70, 100, 400 years ago. And we've come so much farther than what he is and what he's talking about today. And the fact that he's trying to take us backward, and this whole Make America Great Again, like this guy right here, that's complete BS. We're not going backwards. This is not a line dance where you back up sometimes. This is a straightforward moonwalk. And here's what I like about Trump. I don't know if you all watch Dave Chappelle. But in his new special, he wrapped it up very beautifully like this. How many people know about the civil rights story in 1955? By hands. So every hand should have went up, so I'll tell it to you. And keep in mind, this is from Dave Chappelle. And this is what Donald Trump is to me. So in 1955, a young boy, 14-year-old boy from Chicago, Illinois, was going to visit his family in Mississippi for the first time. This is in 1955, keep in mind. So this young boy is very excited to go. He's never left Chicago, Illinois. But as he's leaving, his mom very importantly tells him, be careful when you go to Mississippi because it's a lot different than it is in Chicago. If you go to Mississippi and a white person looks at you in the eyes, you never look them back, you look down at the ground. He's like, okay, Mom, I got it. But for a lot of you, if you've never been to Chicago people, especially black people in Chicago, are not afraid people. So here this young man, 14 years old, goes to Mississippi, First time excited, he's hanging with his friends and family, his cousins, and he goes to a corner store. They go in the corner store, they shop for a little bit. A white woman walks out, and he whistles. He goes, "Damn, mama, you looking good." So the story says. 4 days later, at his cousin's house in Mississippi, 4 adult white men come into this 14-year-old boy's house and kidnap him. In 1955, if you were black, you really cannot stand up to racism. You cannot stand up to anybody attacking you, so they had to let him take him. This is 4 days after he whistled at this white woman. A week later, his body comes up, found. He's beaten terribly. He's found in a river. He's found in a ditch. His body is bloated tremendously. He's beaten to a pulp. And it is just the most ridiculous thing you can ever imagine. However, lucky for us, his mom is a gangster. Because what she did, even in a mom's worst nightmare, to see her 14-year-old son beaten to a pulp and body bloated from being in the river for about a week, she said, "You know what? I want to have an open casket funeral for my son so they can see what they did to my baby." So what happens next is they have this open casket funeral for this young man, and it's all over Time magazine. It's all over the major magazines at the time. And what happens next is America, this country, we realize at that point, if no other time, we realize at that point, you know what, this is gross. We have to do better than this. And believe it or not, in 1955, that murder of that 14-year-old boy who was named Emmett Till, that really kicked off the civil rights movement, and here we are today. Now some of you are looking like, why would I tell that story? How is that important to this? So in 2016, the white woman that he allegedly whistled at on her deathbed admitted that she lied on this young man. So she admitted that she lied on this 14-year-old boy, and he wound up losing his life. And it's very strange and very dark and very odd. But if that white woman hadn't lied, we might not have the gas we needed to start the civil rights movement for people like me to be able to talk to all you beautiful white folks today. So I say that, even though it's sick and twisted that this white lady lied on this young man, we got something beautiful out of it. And I say that to say about Donald Trump, he is that same lie that we're going to get something beautiful out of this country. And Donald Trump is a liar because he's talking about people coming from other countries where they're predominantly people of color. He doesn't care about the power and the rights of women. He doesn't care about voting rights and the restorative justice rights of people that have been to prison. He is a liar because that's not the country that I fight for every day. So my countrymen, my countrywomen, I tell you this. It's bigger than Trump because in 2020, if he wins or loses, hopefully he loses, right? Because we're going to do a better job this time. But I don't give a damn about who's in the White House. I care about my neighbors that I'm looking and standing in front of today. What are we willing to do? What are we willing to sacrifice to make our country better? What are we willing to do to make sure that in 2019, hopefully, women are getting paid finally the same amount that men are getting paid for the same job? What are we doing to ensure that we don't have any walls, we don't have any borders in a country that was built on like illegal immigration, really, when you think about it? What are we going to do in a city where the black population is depleting? What are we going to do to keep Austin weird, not only weird and diverse? And I challenge you all, that has nothing to do with Donald J. Trump. Screw that guy. That has to do with us. That has to do with each and every one of us. Like, if you know anything about the Austin Justice Coalition, we work with the Austin Police Department a lot, and sometimes we come at odds, and that's only because I want to challenge them to be the best police department in the world. So the same thing with Donald Trump. I can't really challenge him because he doesn't mean that much to me, but I can challenge each and every one of you. What are you going to do to make sure we can be the best city, the best community in this nation? So I don't say impeach Donald Trump. I say empower ourselves, empower our voices, empower women, empower black, empower brown, empower LGBTQ, empower everybody whose voices has not been uplifted in this community. And that's how we get to a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Great! Love, not hate, makes America great! Now, it's so important in our journey into resistance, we have to take a little break. We have to let go of some of the outrage. I've got outrage fatigue. I don't know about it.
That he's pandering to when he wants to make that move. Here's what the executive director of Jewish Voice for Peace says. For 70 years, the U.S. has given Israel tacit approval to steal Palestinian land, to build illegal Jewish settlements, and to deny Palestinians in East Jerusalem and elsewhere their rights. Currently, Israel controls the whole city, but half of Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, is envisioned as the future capital of a Palestinian state. Holding that possibility open is important for the peace process. How important is it? In 1995, 22 years ago, Congress required that the U.S. move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Every administration since then has treated that as a symbolic act, has not acted on it, not in all of 22 years, not in all of those administrations, because they know it would alienate Arab allies and damage the peace process. Now I'll close with a more eloquent excerpt from a statement signed by nearly 170 Jewish studies scholars from American colleges and universities. Jerusalem is of immense religious and thus emotional significance to Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike. It is the focus of national aspirations for both Israelis and Palestinians. We hope one day to see a world in which all inhabitants of the land enjoy equal access to the city's cultural and material resources. Today, unfortunately, that is not the case. A declaration from the United States government that appears to endorse sole Jewish proprietorship over Jerusalem adds insult to ongoing injury and is practically guaranteed to fan the flames of violence. We therefore call on the U.S. government to take immediate steps to de-escalate the tensions resulting from the President's declaration and to clarify Palestinians' legitimate stay